In this video, we're going to demonstrate the Dynamic Airport Master Plan interface for the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. So the first page you see when you access the system is the login page. This will allow us to set the user profiles and security settings for the users in your organizations. And what that really does is control the type and the level of information that they can see when they log into the system based on their role in the organization. Also, for Broward County Aviation Department, they had an existing master plan that was well underway, and the purpose of this project was to take that information and convert it into the Dynamic Airport Master Plan. So that project is being completed in two phases. This phase one that we're going to demonstrate for you here focuses on the aviation demand forecasts only. However, as you can see, the user interface has been built to be able to accept those future master plan components very easily and readily once that information is available. So just really quickly to look at the data presentation, as you can see here, we start with graphical information that when you move your cursor over each year, it gives you detailed information for each component of the employment forecast. This information can also be downloaded, saved, or printed off. You could also view this information by various airport planning year and thresholds from 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20, or all 20 years of the forecast if you desire to see that. The information can also be presented in tabular format, which gives you a little bit more detail on each specific year for the forecast category that we're looking at. So if we look at the various tabs across the top, the very first tab that you'll land on when you access the system is the Management Dashboard. And this tab is intended to be a custom information tab that really is set up to give you specific information that is important to you. So right now, though it's focused mostly on activity data because that's the data that's available in phase one, ultimately you'll be able to see things such as cost per employment, financial information like revenues or expenses, or really any performance measures or growth characteristics that would be important to you to see very quickly and very readily when you access the system. If we select the Forecast tab, it will bring up all the forecast activity information that is in the Airport Master Plan and has been converted into the Dynamic Master Plan. So the baseline information that we're looking at here is the Master Plan baseline forecast that has been approved. As you can see, we see the employment information, air carrier operations, total operations as far as cargo, GA, and military, based aircraft information, and then cargo freight, both freight and mail tonnage. So all that information that was from the master plan has been incorporated into here. So the main purpose of the phase one piece of this tool is to allow the user to compare existing baseline forecasts that are out there. So not only the master plan baseline, but also the FAA TAF, as well as a historically adjusted baseline, which actually takes historical activity reports as current as the most recent month and creates a rolling forecast going forward. So that allows you to see the difference between what your forecast may have been approved at 2 years ago and where you're currently operating. The second piece of this tool is to allow for custom scenarios. So you may have a new airline entrant, or you may have just recently had other activity that has had a significant impact on your airport activity and operations, and you want to see what that impact is going to be not only to your forecast, but eventually to your facility requirements and overall demand. So you can look at those two various features within this tool. To do that, we'll select Run. In this case, we're going to compare the baselines. We have various baselines in this particular tool from Fort Lauderdale. We select the master plan baseline, and we want to see what the difference is against the historical activity. So we'll compare those two baselines. The system will go ahead and calculate those. We'll close the window here, and we'll switch over to the tabular view to get a little bit more detailed look. And as you can see here, when we're looking at the employment information, we have the master plan baseline forecast on the left, the historically adjusted baseline forecast on the right. If we look at total employments, we know that the master plan baseline was set for a 2016 base year. Forecast years were 2017 and forward, and our historical information is through 2018. So if we want to see the difference of what's occurred with our actual activity versus our forecast activity over the past 2 years, we can click on the number and it'll bring up the percent deviation. So at the end of the day, what we're really looking at here is how much have we outperformed the master plan baseline, and we can very quickly look at that and see that in the past 2 years, the airport has grown at roughly 16.4% more than they were forecast to in the master plan for total employments. Now, if we would like to run a custom scenario, we can just go back and restore the baseline, set it back to its original approved master plan baseline. We'll click on Create Scenarios, and in this instance, we're allowed to look at various components of activity. So we'll go ahead and select Air Carrier. We'll click Add. In this case, we'll use a fictitious airline, 123, on an international route to, say, London. We'll expect that activity to occur in 2019, and we'll say that is a large aircraft, 777 with 451 seats, international operation, 90% anticipated load. We'll estimate that it's going to be 2 daily flights, Monday through Friday, so 10 departures a week. The system will then calculate the enplanements. We'll go ahead and set that as a scenario we'd like to run. You can also select what you would like to run that scenario against. So what baseline should it be applied to? In this case, we can select any of the four. We'll go ahead and keep the master plan baseline forecast. We'll hit run, and the system will then go ahead and incorporate that scenario into the current forecast so we can see what the difference is. So we bring that back to the employment table here, and we can see 2019, of course, in domestic, it was an international operation, so no change in domestic. However, we can see the change in international, and we can see the change in the total. So if we'd like to see the specific information, we click on the number, and as you can see, that one scenario, that one additional airline route that would be added based on those parameters would be a 6% increase in the international enplanements and a 1.3% increase in the total enplanements. So very quickly, you can run custom scenarios and see what their impact would be on your activity. Ultimately, this is important because we want to understand how this impact is going to change our facility requirements, our development program, our finances, and ultimately our CIP. So that is the phase one of the Fort Lauderdale Dynamic Master Plan Interface. Thank you.